concept has been prevalent in my life recently, so I decided to go back and watch a video from Nathaniel Drew called "For People Feeling Behind in Life." And in the end of the video, he tells us that he's making this as a reminder to himself, essentially. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm reminding myself of this concept, and I'm hopefully giving you a good reminder as well. So I want to talk about this idea of how to stay true to yourself in a competitive environment, how to avoid this feeling of falling behind. And I want to start off by echoing something that Nathaniel said himself. He said, who is measuring behind? But you're behind what? What measuring stick are you using? And I think that's a very important distinction to make, because when you start comparing yourself to others, you're using their measuring stick instead of your own. And this is something that I constantly have to remind myself of. There was an instance recently in my life where my friends experienced some great success, and I'm happy for them. I really am. But then I immediately began to measure myself up against their success, wondering what am I doing? Why am I not at that point? But I always have to remind myself, and you have to remind yourself, that you are on a different path and you're at a different stage. And it's difficult to do that because we want to be on the forefront. We want to have the high levels of success that we're witnessing in other people, but we have to remember that we're in our own lane. You've probably heard the phrase, stay in your own lane. That applies here, and that's not to distance yourself from others, but rather to ensure that you are measuring yourself based off of your own success. Another very important point that I want to make is that you should always have a personal reason for doing something, and you should be very careful with "you think you should." You think you should? Why? Keep digging deeper. If the only reason you're doing something is because of others' perception of you doing that thing, you probably shouldn't be doing that thing. The example that I use to explain this is that I went to a very competitive high school, and the academics there are insane. People are getting over 4.0 GPAs, and even someone with straight A's or someone that has like a couple B's, like good grades, can feel like they are failing, can feel like they are so far behind everyone else that they question what they're doing, if they're doing enough, if they're ever going to be good enough. And that's such a toxic mindset because they're comparing themselves to those that have put their focus on academics. We all have our different focus. We all have our different passions, our North Star goals, if you'd like. And comparing your progress based on someone else's, that's a one-way ticket to feeling behind. To wrap this up, I want to give you a practical way to actually implement this idea of asking why, and that comes through 80-20 analysis. It's pretty simple. You've probably heard of it before, but this is all you have to do. Look at the 20% of things in your life that result in 80% or the majority of your happiness and of your progress, of your success. Focus on those things. If you're able to say, I am doing this thing because it is part of the 20% that is resulting in my 80% of happiness, then that's great. Keep it going. But if you realize that I'm doing this small 20% of thing, but it's not resulting in the greatest gains, or I'm doing this 20% of things and it's actually resulting in 80% of my frustration, of my stress, those are the things you know to cut out. So to wrap it up, just remember that if you're feeling behind in life, ask yourself, what measurement am I using to determine behind? Are you talking about your own goals, or are you talking about other people's?